BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, our daily look at an area football team and the key questions we'll be answering about that team and our August 20th preseason preview here at Big Country Preps. I'm with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom, and today, Dan, we're talking about the Dublin Lions.
Yeah, and this is a Dublin team that last year was able to win a couple of their last couple of district games to sneak into the playoffs in an otherwise rough year. Went 2-9, but were able to make the postseason, and they returned 16 of their 26 lettermen from that squad, including five starters on each side of the ball. Obviously, they're going to have some big questions to answer this year, as they have the past several, if they want to get back to the postseason. And we'll talk about a few of those here in just a little bit. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting season for the Dublin Lions, I think.
All right, and before we start talking about Dublin, we need to remind you folks to please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. It's free. Also, after that, please hit the little bell and you'll get notifications each and every time that Big Country Preps comes up with a new video there. And with that, Dan, the key questions about the Dublin Lions, go ahead and fire away.
And yeah, I think they're going to have quite a few. They got to replace six starters on both sides of the ball again from a 2-9 football team. Have their call ups from a 3-7 JV team. So that you're going to talk about some depth issues, some things like that. I think the biggest question I have for them right off the bat is at the skill positions. They lost a really good quarterback in Caden Gayton, a kid really talented for them. Lost a quality running back in DJ Ferguson, and they're going to have some young kids have to step, or not necessarily young, but inexperienced at those positions, have to step into those roles. You got looks like Alex Teaton will be moving over from receiver to quarterback this year after receiving for almost 500 yards a year ago. What's that going to look like at the quarterback position after losing a veteran kid in Gayton who'd started several years for them? And then the running back position, there's just not a whole lot of production or experience back at that spot. What's that going to look like? Receiving, they've got a little bit of experience, but again, their top receiver from last year was Teaton, who will be throwing the football this year. So I'm just interested to see kind of how their skilled talent develops. I think that's going to be the biggest key. Because one thing about Dublin, they've struggled defensively the past several years, but offensively they've been able to, produce yards, produce points that have kept them in several games. I'm interested to see if they have the skill personnel this year that can kind of allow them to continue to do those sorts of things and maybe win a shootout or two as they have the last couple of years.
All right, this team does have issues with inexperience and depth, but it does have one legitimate strength, and that is size up front, offensively and defensively. Dublin should be pretty big and pretty tough up front. And this is something that I would think that they would try to take advantage of when you've got, you're trying to develop skilled people. You've got an inexperienced quarterback, a lot of youth on the defensive side. Why not run the football a little bit more and reduce possessions? That's my one key, I think, for Dublin. If they can do that, if they can run the football, slow it down, and limit possessions, they give these young kids a shot at growing up and stay a little more competitive. That's my question. Will they do that? Will they choose to take advantage of those fronts and use it to their advantage?
Yeah, that is gonna be interesting because, like you said, they've got five or six guys 230 or bigger. A couple of those guys well over 250, and even a 300 pounder in there as well. So they've got some serious size. And then offensively, like we mentioned, they're a quarterback who hadn't had a lot of experience at that position. And then we'll just kind of see how the running back position plays out. But my last question for Dublin is kind of a mindset one. Last year, like you said, 2-9 is not a record that you celebrate. But last year they did have a nice finish to the season. They beat Eastland by a touchdown in a really close game. They went and beat early in the last week of the season to get them into the playoffs. Where those are types of things that potentially can kind of help you build some confidence and help those kids that were part of that last year. And again, they have 16 Letterman back. Maybe help those kids, have that experience and know what it's like to win a big football game and to extend your season. I'm just interested to see how much confidence do they gain from that. Obviously, the overall record is not one you're real happy about, but there were some things to celebrate at the end of the season. I'm interested to see if they can maybe build on that a little bit because they do have some kids that were a part of that I'm sure experienced that or sure that enjoyed that experience and hopefully will have an opportunity to do it again. But that's something I'm interested to see too. Just can they build any momentum off that trip to the playoffs?
We're going to take a closer look at Dublin's schedule for 2025. But before we do that, we need to thank some of our sponsors, beginning with For the Love of the Game Broadcasting and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of K-Lakes 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, 97.7 FM KATX out of Eastland, Classic Country AM 1330 out of Graham, 94.7 FM KWKQ out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is For the Love of the Game Broadcasting. Also, Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac up in Breckenridge. If you're in the market for a new vehicle or a used vehicle, call Rob. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. Give him a shout at 254 559 2266. That's Rob Durham up at Bear Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge. And finally, Cavalry Resources and Construction, located up in Breckenridge, serving the entire big country, offering custom standing seam roofing made on location and all commercial roofing applications. Give Kobe Walker a shout at 254 246 5546. That is Cavalry Resources and Construction in Breckenridge. All right, and with that, it's time to take a quick look at Dublin's schedule for 2025. We'll start with the non-district portion. And Dan, this is not an easy non-district portion, is it?
No, not at
August
all.
29th. August 29th, they will start on the road against a what is expected to be a pretty good De Leon football team. They'll host Millsap next on the 5th of September. On the 12th, they'll host a good Anson team. That should be a good one. Then they'll face Bowie on the road, and then they're going to be playing Lindsay at home to close out the non-district portion before jumping into an open date on October 3rd.
And then things get off to a tough start to the district schedule as well as they open at Brady on October 10th before hosting Toller on October 17th. They travel to Eastland on the 24th of October, come back home to play Clifton on the 31st, and then wrap up their regular season schedule at Early on November 7th. So the one thing I noticed about this schedule is the two games that they won to get in the playoffs last year we're both at home. Now you look this season; those come. Now you're hitting the road for that Eastland game and that early game, so that's kind of a challenge there.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what we think are the games of the year for Dublin, the games that they must win in order to see postseason play. How do you see it?
Honestly, I think it's probably going to be those same two games it was last year. The challenge again is that you have to go on the road for both of them at Eastland, at Early. Those were the two games they were able to win. One thing that you kind of got lost in the shuffle last year is they opened the district play last year with a really strong performance against Brady last year too. Lost 34-31 again, a home game. So all those games and all those teams they played really well at home last year. Now they've got to go on the road. That's going to be a challenge for them. But I do think that Eastland game in particular is the big one because if you lose that Eastland game, that makes the Clifton game and early game basically must wins. If you win at Eastland, it gives you a chance to steal one of those last two and get into the playoffs.
I agree with you as far as the most important games. Man, I'm not liking the fact that both of them are on the road. Eastland
Yeah.
and Early both on the road this year. But that's the path.
Mhm.
That is the most logical or the most likely path to getting there. And this is I mean, a pretty respectable district. When you start throwing in the likes of Brady and Toller in there,
Mhm.
this is a decent district.
Yeah. And then you look at the non-district schedule that they've been loaded down with. This is a tough schedule, period. There's not an easy game in that non-district slate.
Yes.
You try to steal a win here and there to get some confidence, and then you hit district and have to go to Brady the first week and then host Toller the second. This is a really tough go for Dublin. It's going to be interesting to see how they kind of navigate that.
That 3 game stretch from non-district into district, Lindsay, Brady, and Toller, that is a tough 3 weeks right there.
Yeah,
It's over the course of a month, but that's three straight pretty tough ball games right there. This
no
is
doubt.
not
Yeah,
an
there
easy schedule for the Lions.
no breathers in there. They're gonna have to play well and win the games when they have those opportunities to if they want to make the postseason.
All right, and with that, it's about time to wrap up this edition of the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, the Dublin Lions. But before we do that, we want to remind you one more time, August 20th is the big day here at Big Country Preps. That's the day that we release our annual preseason preview. It has everything in it that you're going to have in a preseason preview. We'll have predictions for each district. We'll have team previews. We'll have more than 40 player features. We'll have opinion pieces, columns. We'll have stat standings, you name it, we will have it. And that's for every team that we cover in the big country. every 11-man team we cover in the Big Country, plus a few extra on the just outside the border of the Big Country. But it's a ton of reading. It's worth it. Join us August 20th.
In the meantime, thank you for joining us for this episode of our Countdown to Two-A-Days series, and make sure you come back tomorrow when we talk about the early Longhorns here at BigCountryPreps.com.